Hey, what's up, everyone? Welcome back to Apollo Art Analysis. This episode, we're going to be taking a look at a piece by the generative artist and multidisciplinary artist BitArtWorks. And in this episode, we're going to be talking a little bit about kind of the center contrast here. We're going to talk about intensity of light, and we're also going to talk about generative art and the dimensions of time in Strange Attractors series. So let's jump right into it. So whenever you first see this work, you're met with a singular kind of unnatural geometric subject here. And so you notice this intensity of light for sure. This color red really just pops out, catches the eye, and you see this kind of multitude of layers as well. We'll go a bit deeper in that here in a second. But this red, of course, red is a very visceral, very primal color. Gets the heart racing, kind of like the sight of first blood. And of course, setting that onto that midnight black backing really provides the perfect background for that kind of striking light on dark contrast. That definitely catches the eye. Really energetic introduction for sure. And what reinforces this energy are these kind of interwoven layers here. And we'll talk exactly what these mean in kind of the terms of generative art here in a second, but there's no doubt that these varying layers just give this incredible sense of energy, really awakens the senses, and that, of course, works alongside the intensity of light, works alongside the color red as well. Almost like three different things going on at once to intensify the visual experience to the highest degree possible. And so this work is part of the Dimensions of Time and Strange Attractors series. We'll go a little bit deeper on that in a second. It is a generative art collection. And so this piece is the within shell component of that. And there's actually 4 or 5. We'll look at that there in a second. But I wanted to talk about a little bit about the sense of the natural world. So the artist talks about this may be kind of the raw sense of energy that you can get, whether it's smoke, whether it's water, whether it's fire. But this sense of the kind of generated does give us this kind of natural sense, the sense of the flow, the sense of the kind of the binary of the one or the other for sure. And with that, of course, that also works alongside that incredible energy to kind of awaken the viewer. Also gives this not intensely kind of divine nature, but we do see some elements of that if we were kind of looking a bit deeper. And so with geometric art or abstract art in general, there always is this sense of subjectivity. Almost like a Rorschach blot, you look into it and it may be an active reflector of the kind of active participant. It's hard to say for sure. Of course, there is that sense of surrealism as well with any type of abstract art. You look at this, some people may see a drop. Some people may see a drop of blood. Some people may see a little bit of energy. Some people may see fire. Some people may see kind of life force. It's hard to say for sure, but with that does come that sense of subjectivity. And so this piece, of course, is an algorithmic piece. There's an algorithm which created this work. So this does make it a generative art piece. That's actually echoing the original artist who in the 1970s, she started the generative art school in Chicago. I believe it was in Chicago. But yeah, that definitely echoes the contributions made by that original artist. And we just see the further developments here, of course. But over 50 years later, here we have the generative art scene in full effect, especially with the introduction of NFTs in 2021. Generative art was just booming. There's very, very popular. I think it's often overlooked as well, but this is the Dimensions of Time and Strange Attractors series, and it's kind of hard to wrap your head around if you don't really dive deep into it. But the best way to think about it is the way that time moves and the way that that attracts different things that can essentially be put into an algorithmic form and then to create generated art out of that. So really, really interesting. And this was actually created out of, I believe, somewhere around 24,000 original pieces, and out of those, only about 200 were selected. We'll talk about that here in a second, but you just see the variance, of course, whenever we take a look at that. But it's just an incredible piece for sure. And this is the within shell component of that. Looking at 7, and so there are a bunch. Of course, this is Gallery 2, and you have, say, Cracking Falls, you have Within Shell, you have just all these different kind of variants of that. We are looking at the Within Shell series, and this one is number 7. It's actually not on the list quite strangely, but we do have number 4 here, and I wanted to compare that because that's the one that I really saw the closest similarity between. So, of course, you see that kind of main shape, that main silhouette form for sure. See a bit more texture within this work, and this one has a lot more of a flow. little bit of more visible layers within this one, but this is the closest one that I could get that had a lot of similarities, especially in kind of the main macro form for sure. So I thought that was a good example just to kind of reference. You can see out of those 24,000 images that they created, they only choose 200. So these are just some of the variants that they decided to choose. So you can just see the kind of dynamic sense and the diversity within the collection for sure. And so, like I said, this is the within shell component of the Dimensions of Time and Strange Attractors series. This is a generative art piece. It was actually about, I believe it was something around 20 or so equations that they use and something like close to 50 million possible points that it would create this work. So really, really interesting. I think generative art deserves a lot of recognition. For me personally, it's a little hard to put into words. I'm still working on that. I'm kind of diving deep into the abstract kind of geometric scene as well. And so kind of getting my footing for sure, but this piece was a challenge and it was a blessing to be able to look at that. And this is also going to be added to our Techspressionist gallery. So Techspressionism, at its most literal sense, can be defined as displaying any type of emotional experience within a technological medium of expression. And so with that, kind of anything that has kind of expressionism on the end, whether it's impressionism, whether it's expressionism, whether it's techspressionism, there is this sense of the subjectivity. There is this sense of kind of rejecting the traditionally held standards of kind of objective realism in favor of a greater sense of subjectivity. So with that in mind, I think this work would also go into the Techspressionist gallery. I actually found it from the Techspressionist page as well. So it was really a blessing to study this. Definitely a challenge for me. It's hard for me to put this kind of into words, although I did my best, and I'm excited to look at some more generative art pieces in the future. Hope you guys enjoyed. Hope you guys learned something. Like I said, this piece is coming from BitArtWorks. If you guys enjoyed, go check out the original artist. The artist is actually, I believe, a professor at a university. That's really intriguing, kind of delving into both worlds for sure. Hope you guys enjoyed. Hope you guys learned something. My name is Apollo. This was Apollo Art Analysis, and I'll see you guys on the next episode.
We hope you enjoyed today's episode. If you'd like to support our work directly, please check out our Apollo community tokens. Apollo Art Exchange is an ecosystem of art appreciation which elevates artists each and every day. Thanks for listening.